you guys keep your mask on, we would appreciate that. So, just not much. Opening up the questions, I will start by saying I'm looking forward to the season. As I told our guys, last year we almost pulled off, really a miracle run. It's rare that you have new coaches, new players, new front office, and you turn things around the way you do and have a chance to win. That was the first step. Now we want to make the next step. So just really looking forward to the season.
Just to go back to last week's media tour, you said that we should check what you said about Ben Simmons and being a point guard on a championship. Can he be a point guard on a championship? And you clearly did not say yes.
Yeah,
and
because I wasn't answering the question. If you ever go back on that, and listen, we can go back and forth all you want or anybody else wants on intent, but I've never had a problem owning what I say.
Okay,
ever.
so now when you look,
I'm going to finish.
okay, sure.
I'm in charge here. I'm going to finish.
Okay,
all right.
Go ahead.
What I said, and I'll say it over and over again, when you watch it, there's sometimes called intent when you talk.
Okay.
And clearly, what I said was, guys, I'm not answering that. I don't know right now. I wasn't answering any question. I was talking about, we just finished a game 7. And that question was asked. I just wasn't talking about it. I wasn't answering that. It had nothing to do with me. Do you think all year, who do you think defended Ben more?
To a fault.
Yeah, well, in your opinion, not mine. I still think the world of him. I think the world of him as a player. Just because he doesn't do certain things that you want him to do, doesn't mean he's a bad player. He made the All-Star team. He was, I don't know what vote, he almost won the Defensive Player of the Year award. So to me, sometimes I wish, instead of just going with what you want, listen to my intent. That's all I'm saying. And I thought, and I said it the next day. That's why, if you remember, the next day we did the press conference, whoever was at that press conference, did I say it again? I reiterated. I said, guys, there's something out there that I didn't mean. So it's not like me being a revisionist history.
Okay, so now apparently Ben took offense to that, and that's one of the problems. Do you believe that's one of the problems?
No, I don't. I don't believe that's one of the problems at all.
Okay.
Well, we talked about it the next day.
Okay, I just want to follow up with Daryl. Hi, Daryl, how are you?
What's up?
Have you misevaluated the value in the trade market, and if so, how much, of Ben Simmons?
Well, let me give some background. They came to us and asked for a trade shortly after the season as representatives in Chicago. We were not looking to trade him. To Coach's point, multi-time All-Star, Defensive Player of the Year. We were on the doorstep, like many teams.
Well, about 4 teams.
Yeah, but I was looking at Milwaukee the year prior. They were the 1 seed, went into the next season, won the title. Look, every team goes through its own journey. Ben is a very good player, a big part of this team. We're disappointed he's not here. We're making our choices, but we're excited. We're very excited about the players who are here. We're going to focus on them. And we're taking our journey to be a championship team. We don't know exactly what that will be. In terms of like what trades or non-trades, I only have one focus, which is to do what gives us the best chance to win a championship. So I will do all the signings or non-signings, all the trades or non-trades. You can know that when they happen or don't happen, it's because we think it's, along with Coach Rivers, we think it's the best thing to give us the best chance to win the championship.
Thanks. So Doc or Daryl, what specifically has made Ben unhappy that he wants out?
That's a good question. It's a tough answer because it wasn't as clear as we probably would want it. Wanting to change places to for whatever reason. So, it's tough to play here. But Ben didn't say that. But you got to assume that's probably part of it. And I can't say he said that. That's just an assumption. So, that's it. And losing, guys, listen, I've been in a lot of losing rooms, and I've been in some winning rooms. Most of us, usually when you coach, you're on the bad end of it. You're rarely always on the good end. And it's amazing the impact it has. I've been around it. This has happened more than you know. It just has not happened to this extent, especially the day after a loss or the week after a loss. Unfortunately, this has not changed so far.
And Daryl, do you feel there's any hope of reconciliation, or is this it? He's played his last game.
I think there's a lot of hope. I would say I watched last night a player lead their team to victory where 1,000 pounds of digital ink were spilled on how much he would never play for that team again. So, look, every situation is different, but we have a lot of optimism that we can make it work here.
Hey guys, I'll break up the Ben questions real quick to ask you about another fun topic. Do you know what percentage of your players are currently vaccinated or in the process of being vaccinated? And I guess
I do know the percentage, but I'm not going to answer that.
So is it a concern, I guess?
It's not a concern for us. I can't say other teams, but we are very, very, very good. Let me put it that way. But it's probably a concern league-wide for sure. And I don't know what the percentages are. I think it's interesting. Football, it seems like we all know, where in our game, you don't know from team to team.
And then for you specifically, Doc, I know a big thing for you coming into every year is setting expectations for each individual player and then the team as a whole. So how do you do that in an environment where, one of your most important players, you don't know where he's going to be or how involved he's going to be, or even if you have to make a trade, then that totally changes things as well.
Well, clearly not the easiest situation, but individually it's easy. I look at the young guys that we have. It's amazing. Like, I try not to include like Matisse, but he's young. Ferk and Shake are young. Tyrese is young. So individually, it's easy to set their goals and their standards for where we need them to be for us to take the next step. We're going to focus on who's here. We're going to try to build our team out to who's here right now, with hopes that we do have Ben at some point. But right now, that can't be our focus. Our focus, I can only touch the people who are in front of me. And so that's my goal right now, is to get their mindsets right about moving forward.
If I could add real quick, we're different than most one seeds, and credit to coach on this, that we have most of our players who are on the upswing of their career improving. We have more draft picks to improve into the future. We have more ways to improve than most one seeds, most contenders. So we're very excited both with where we're at right now and how we're on the upswing relative to other teams that are in a similar situation.
And lastly, I would say, I always have summer goals. And our guys, our young guys, I got to tell you, and I said this last year about them, it was the best working young group I've ever had in my 21 years. And I've never said that. And then they did it again this summer. That group is, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's one guy leading that group to do it, but they're just workers. So I'm really excited about it.
Good morning. We'll give this one to Doc first.
I'm sorry.
We'll give this one to Doc first, and then Daryl, if you want to comment, I'll be interested to get your take on this. Doc, over the summer, a couple of your players came out and they made comments about the fans. We haven't gotten to ask Joel or Danny specifically what they meant by that, but I guess it amounted to they wanted the fans to be better or maybe lay off a little bit or just show more empathy. What was your interpretation of that? And do you think there's an issue with the fans and fairness in how they're treating the players right now?
I didn't interpret it, to be honest. I know things were said. I can't tell you exactly what they was saying. I was probably on the third hole trying to make a putt in the middle of the summer, if you want me to be honest. We all have to improve, right? The players have to improve, but I don't know. Fans are fans. I think most cities are about the same overall. Some have more intensity. I think this is an intense fan base. Boston, I coach there. They have a pretty intense fan base from what I hear too. And I've always viewed that as a good thing, that some negative things are behind that too, right? But I would rather have that. I just like I like the people caring, and how you voice that as individual. It's funny. And the true story, Friday, I was flying back to LA. Thursday, I was flying back to LA, and the flight was delayed 5 hours. I think that was the day of that big storm, right? And I'm end up sitting with the father, a mother, and two kids. And the guy, they're Philly guys, and they're giving me the whole pitch on, how a fan should be. And I'm laughing. We're laughing together. And he said, "What do you think, Doc? Do you?" I said, "Well, I think about your son right there, and if would you like it? Think about that when you're a fan. How would you treat your son on the floor?" And he said, "I never thought of that." And then he said, "But we're tough." And we started laughing about it. So yeah, it's a tough fan base, but those fan bases, I have learned that if you can get it right, meaning us, if we can win it, Julius Erving still walks the streets here as a hero. So does Andrew Toney and that whole group. And that's because they accomplished something. So I know if you get it right, it all goes well. If you don't get it right, no one's happy anyway, including me.
Fans have high expectations. They're passionate. I love it. I would say just in my role is to try and get the best players here. So I would love for all these perceptions to turn around because I think they're out there that we're hard to play, but I don't think it's true at all. I think, once players are here, they understand the fans are trying to push everyone in the right direction.
Yeah, and I just want us to be harder to play for the visiting teams. I think that's the key, right? And when you reach that, as far as expectation, I will say I thought we increased expectations. I read Keith's article before the year started. I think you had a 7th, 6th, So, no, really, I didn't read it. I was just guessing. But no, listen.
Where are we at this year, Keith?
We're here to raise expectations. That's what we're here. That's why I'm here. And so I embrace it, and I'm ready for it.
Hey, Doc, how you doing? Joel being the MVP last year, had a lot of career highs on offense, but how would you assess the job he did on defense, and what do you need him to do maybe more this year, especially given the unknown with Ben?
Well, I can't, and that's the tough part. I think you asked the question. That's the tough part, right? I can't start putting other jobs because the other guy is not here. That gets you in trouble. So the way I'm doing it is coaching like I would coach him normal. He had a hell of a year, Joel. He really did. I don't know, the MVP voting, I really think if maybe he played more games. I think Joel's goal is to do that this year. So just that alone makes him a better player for us. Offensively, I thought he mixed it up the way we wanted him to, post, mid-game, threes. We still want to develop a couple of things we've talked about offensively to help him. As a team, we have to do our spacing better around him. You never can stop working on that. Defensively, being a basket protector, that's key for us. You think about it at the center spot, and I thought about it in the mid-year, how many games he has to really focus on the guy he's guarding, right now in this NBA. So his team defense and his voice is vital for us, and that's where we want him to take his biggest step.
Next two will go to Keith and then Tim.
What's up, y'all?
What's going on?
All right. Doc, I know you say you're going to coach this like you coach any other year, right?
Yeah,
But the thing is, Ben is not here,
yeah.
and it becomes a distraction to the team.
It could be. It could be. Yeah.
I mean, it could be. I
Yeah.
mean, you're going to have some young guys are saying, wow, am I going to be included in the trade? I mean,
Yeah.
Is that a concern? I mean,
Yeah, that's always a concern. Like one thing as a coach, I've never figured out, and no one, I've talked to a million coaches about it, is trade rumors, especially in this day. I didn't, I played in the era where, hell, we didn't know it until literally when the GM called you in the office, you think you're getting a raise and they trade you. You didn't know any information. And now we know a lot of information. A lot of it is not true, though, Keith. I mean, this summer I saw trades and I was like, wow, that's a hell of a trade. But there was no truth to it because I hadn't heard one thing about it. And so for players hearing their names, that's not easy for them. But our job is to try to reassure them the best that we can, but that's part of the league now. That's the tough part. You're right.
and even for you, I mean, think about it. You were doing a national tour for your podcast, but no one really talked about the podcast. I mean, so,
Which is a shame because John Meacham is a hell of a writer.
yeah, it's a shame. But you see what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of sort of like,
No, but
No, I mean,
that's normal. That's the way it is. Like we knew that when I did they told me I had to do all the podcast stuff, interviews. I started laughing. I said, "Are you kidding me? They're going to ask one question, and then they're going to get to Ben, and that's just how it has to be. But we have to embrace that and deal with that. We have to be willing to go through that. And Keith, I told our guys a little while ago, winning's hard, as far as I know. I think people think you just win a title. Winning's hard. Like, it's hard. You look at Milwaukee last year, Kevin Durant's an inch away from Milwaukee not being in the playoffs anymore. It's just hard. And we have to embrace that. And so, unfortunately for us, this is the journey we have to go on. The Lakers, let's use them as an example. They have to go on their own journey, and every team will. This is ours right now. We have to own it. We have to live our way through it, and we have to do our best to get through it.
Daryl, when is the last time you talked to Ben and or his camp about what's going on?
Well, I met with Ben in a meeting, I don't know, like 6-7 weeks ago. There's more communication with his representation.
When you say there's hope in trying to rectify this, is there any sense at all that he could come in at some point? Has that been discussed at all?
Well, I think, look, we just know the history of, you can look back at how these things play out. Ben's a great player and, we expect him back. We expect him to be a 76er. So.
And Doc, in the interim, for as long as Ben isn't around, do you have a sense of what you're going to do at point guard?
Yeah, I do.
Willing to share?
No, I think you'll figure that out. I don't even think that's that hard really on that one. So, the biggest thing is not, this is where, like, for me, the biggest thing is not who starts. It's now that takes away another guard. And the second unit is my biggest issue for me because that takes us down one point guard. So, yeah. Yeah, big role. With men or without, either way.
I guess my first question is just about, do you feel the need or have you felt the need to address the Ben Simmons situation individually with your team or as a whole? Have you met with them and just say, this is how we're going to kind of handle this? And second question is, if Ben does not show up, what kind of ramifications, fines or anything are you guys going to impose, willing to impose, thought about imposing?
Well, I'll answer the first part. Now I'll let Daryl answer the second part. Yeah, we've had a talk about it for sure. The players talked about it. kind of wanted to hear, honestly, it's been the summer, so we haven't been around each other a lot. More individual conversations all summer. So this is the first group setting we've had since our last meeting. So I wanted to hear what they had to say about it. And we talked about, the season, and this should be something we're looking forward to. Even though, as Keith said, this is going to be a topic of discussion. Probably every new city we go into, someone's going to want to bring up some version of Ben. So I think our guys are ready for it.
Yeah, I'd say we're not going to talk about specifics of fines or things like that, but I will say that, it's pretty very clearly spelled out in the CBA and his contract what happens.
Doc, can you talk a little bit more about Tyrese? Because he had such a good run in the postseason for you, and then it even carried over into the summer. And
I like him. I mean, I said it early. Daryl knows before. We played him early in the year, and I didn't like some of the things that he was doing. And I kept telling our staff by end of the year, he's going to be a player. And I give him credit, like the things, driving, getting all the way to the basket, instead of relying on the floater, he changed. His next step for me is defensively, but I'm telling you, that kid works. And it's rare that you see a guy with the talent that he just has, raw talent, and the work that he puts in. It's rare that doesn't turn into success. High character, I don't know. He just has all the ingredients for, in my opinion, to turn out to be a heck of a basketball player for us for a long time. I think he's going to be listen, I don't want to bestow all this on him, but I am, because I believe in him. He's going to be key with or without. He is. I'm telling you, he is. And we're going to try to put him in positions to do that. The point guard spot is hard in the league. It is. I thought Game 7 was a great example. We've talked a lot about that, him and I, and he wasn't prepared in some ways for the other guys. Demanding, give me, in those games, give me the ball. And I laugh. I had this with Rondo all the time. Because Rondo had Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen, who were hot every play in their minds. And I said, man, those are going to be a really important word for you. And same thing will happen for Tyrese as well.
Daryl, to Doc's point earlier about your point guard depth, do you feel like you have more work to do on this position? I mean, with or without Ben? Even with Ben, George Hill is no longer here. You look at this roster, there aren't a ton of options for him. What are you looking at in terms of between now and even the trade deadline, what you have to do?
We love the players we have, so I don't see any like we need to do X or Y.
Hey guys, this one's for Daryl. I think after last season, you said something along the lines of when you lost to the Hawks, maybe you weren't quite as close to a championship contender ultimately as the regular season would have left you to believe. I guess after the offseason, do you feel like you're any closer, especially considering, the uncertainty with the Ben situation?
Yeah, I mean, we love the team. As I mentioned, we have, young players are all on the upswing, save a couple wily vets that we love as well. We're going to have internal improvement. If opportunities present, obviously, my job is to look at those, but, we're really excited about where we're at. And we're excited about taking that next step. And while we're on the upswing, most of the teams we're chasing and we're behind last year are on the other direction.
I think Drummond's a big pickup for us. Nang is, to me, the silent pickup that I personally believe will really be big for us in a lot of ways, especially if we try to play small ball because his ability to stretch the floor. But more importantly, I just think being together the second year, makes us a better team. Tomorrow, Joel was asking what we're going to do tomorrow, and I said we're just going to pick up from where we left off. We didn't have to teach for 3 hours of practice with no conditioning, which we had to do last year. So I think that'll be an advantage as well.
And just coach had to work hard to put the number one defense on the floor last year. And, I know in my discussions with him and Dan Burke and the rest of the staff, to his point, now we have that foundation and now they can work on the next thing and the next thing.
How much did you guys, to your right, Michael Lee over here, how much did you guys reflect on that loss to the Hawks? And do you think you'd be in this position with Ben if you had pulled off game 5 or 7?
I don't, do we think?
Do you think that if you had won that series and gone to the conference finals, do you think you'd still be in this thing?
That's a great question. I don't know. It probably would have depended on how we ended the next series. What if that had gone wrong? What if Milwaukee had beaten us bad? So I don't know the answer to that. That's a tough one. But we look at that whole series a lot. We watched it as a group, as a team. We watched the fourth quarter as a team. And so there's a lot of things that stand out to us that I think all of our guys have kind of taken ownership of.
Hey, Doc. Last year, you talked a lot about kind of not having that backup four. And you just touched on George and the end. So how big is it from that standpoint, and also kind of getting Tobias, because Tobias will obviously play through everything. So how big is that to have a guy like George?
Yeah, it's huge. And Tobias, he had to last year. We didn't have a lot of choices. So, and I thought that hurt us, in the playoffs, because the other team knew that too. And they started going big, and they knew at some point you got to take Tobias out, and that put us in a bind a little bit. But that's going to happen. Every team has some kind of weakness. They really do. So that was ours. I thought we addressed that. I also think, I don't know why, I think Drummond's going to be big for us as well. In those games that Joel doesn't play, having Drummond on your team is not a bad thing. We got to get him to get back to where he was. And that's going to be part of our job.
Fans see a very athletic guy and a great defender in Ben, but the fans clearly are frustrated because, maybe it means more defense on Joel when he's not taking a shot. At some point, somebody just, are some NBA players and maybe Ben just soft, and they've got to just toughen up and say, I got to do my job. Because people see a guy making a lot of money not doing his job when they're going to work and just saying, I got to do what I got to do. My boss told me to shoot, I got to shoot.
I never heard of the word soft compared to the guy that was second in voting in Defensive Player of the Year, personally. Again, the offensive thing, we clearly want improvement. For me, free throws. I don't even focus on all the shooting that everybody else does. I've seen a lot of winning teams that work that way. That's your own narrative about the shooting stuff. Obviously, we can improve the free throw line. That would be a big step. And we wanted to put in work this summer and through the year. If we get them, we plan on keep working on it. I do think that would change this game a little bit. If Ben makes 33s this year or 1-3, does it change our team? No, if we score 125 points and Ben has 16 with no threes, are we concerned of how we scored them? I think he creates as many threes as anybody in the league for our team. And I don't understand why we don't see that. That's so important for your basketball team. The part that, hopefully we get him back, but the part that I think you'll see if he's not is the defensive part and our pace offensively. Those are the two things that I think we miss when he's not on the floor. It's rare that you have a guy that you say guard him at the 1, guard him at the 2, or at the 3, or at the 4, and then sometimes at the 5. I don't know if there's another defender in the league that can do those things. I listened to Ben Wallace going to Hall of Fame. I don't remember him being a great shooter. Dennis Rodman I play with. There's guys out there that are winners that don't necessarily shoot the ball. Rondo will be a Hall of Famer, I guess. I don't know. You guys vote. There's just a lot of ways to win in basketball, and I understand that. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.